Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the privilege of speaking and sharing my story with you. And I hope that we can have a very frank conversation with each other, and you can listen to what I have to say, and then you can make your minds up for yourself how you want to approach this. Because really what we're talking about here is this is a choice that everybody has as to what the future of your home is going to be. You can choose to use your voice and stand up for what you have and the things that you need and the things you require. Or you can choose to hope that someone else does that for you, which, in my opinion, is the same as just telling people to do whatever they want to do. You have to be willing to speak up for yourselves. So I'd like everybody to kind of take a moment and think about what it is that makes wherever they live special. And it doesn't matter if you live in a city or if you live in a small town or if you live like we do where our nearest neighbor is half a mile away or anything in between that. There's some reason why you stay where you stay. And I want you to keep thinking about that and think about the legacy that you would like to leave, because these are all very important things that tie into this. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself so you can kind of get an idea as to why I'm here and show you the place that Johnny and I are from. So the picture that's up right now is a picture that I took looking just east from the house. Now when they approved the drilling practices and the drilling spacing around us, they said that within about a 5-mile radius of us, they could drill 500 plus wells if they wanted to. And one of the reasons they gave was that, in their opinion, the country lacked any real aesthetic quality. So, I was always taught that, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and something special to me may not be something special to you, but we have to respect that between each other because none of us are the same. So when I first heard that, I thought that maybe we were going to have a rough go of things, but I really had no idea just where things were going to go. So I'm going to give you a little idea about who I am. This is one of my favorite pictures. This is probably the only picture I have of myself and this man together. This is my grandfather, Arthur Jacob Fenton, who was born in 1901. That's myself on the horse when I was about 2. My family came to the part of the country that we live in Wyoming in the mid-1800s, and we were always kind of nomadic, traveling. The romantic idea of a cowboy is not nearly as damn romantic as you might think it is. Those men worked extremely hard. They didn't have homes. The families that they had were drugged from place to place. And this was the man who decided that that was going to change, that we needed a place of our own. And so he worked for various big ranches throughout western and central Wyoming and southern Montana. And, this was the man who rounded up wild horses out of the desert and broke them and sold them to people as usable animals. This was a man who took pride in the things that he accomplished, and he passed those things on in his family. And this lifestyle, this way of being, is something that I didn't want anything else other than that. And, there's the little kid, just a bigger kid. This is just a couple years ago in Hells Canyon, Colorado. I've seen some of the best parts of the world off the back of a horse. And that, to me, is just about one of the most special things there is. And I realize that life changes. I realize that ways of life come and go, and that my way of life, like this, may not be around much longer, but there's legitimate reasons for change. And there's legitimate reasons for progress. But progress can often come veiled in lies and in deceit. And that's really what we're going to deal with tonight. We're going to deal with a promise of this clean source of energy and we can do it right. And I can here to tell you that that's not quite what happens when this comes to you. This is one kind of final picture of the areas that we go. Johnny and I go camping here. It's about a half a day's walk up to almost where the trees end. This is about 9,000, 10,000 feet up in the Wind River Mountains. The water here is pure enough that you can just drink right out of the lake. We only take just the bare necessities of food because we catch fish while we're up there. This is another part of the reason why we live where we live. And there's those connections in every part of the world. It may not look exactly like this, but and it may not be as remote as this, but everybody has those. So I'm going to give you an idea of just where Wyoming is, because we're both dealing with some pretty big pieces of country here. So this is the United States, and there's Wyoming outlined in red. So we're just west of Central. Over on the left side, up in the upper left corner of the red circle, or the red square, would be Yellowstone National Park. Above us is Montana, below is Colorado. So we're right bisected by the Rocky Mountains. And this was just looking around, something that I found, because, you overlay this, and there's only, I think, about 1,500 square miles difference between the landmass of our two countries. And I just thought that that was really interesting. I'd never really thought about it before, to be honest with you, until I found this. And I put it in there because I thought it was something interesting, and that it was a little more of something that will put us on a page where we can talk together and have a better understanding. So I want to show you what it's like and what happens to the country when unconventional oil and gas extraction comes to your part of the world. So this is coal bed methane. This is the coal fields of North America. If you look up in the upper right-hand corner of the Powder River Basin of Wyoming, that's the area that Drew was talking about, where the majority of the coal bed methane has taken place. That's also our largest open-cut coal mines, which are, at last check, like 25 years behind on reclamation. So we have these giant holes in the ground, much like you guys do, and they keep saying we're going to do right by you, and it'll be better than when we started even. They're bold enough to tell you that story, but then they do things like, just here a couple weeks ago, Arch Coal, which is one of our biggest companies, on a Friday paid out $4.5 million in bonuses and benefits to, I think it was their top 4 executives. And on the very next Monday declared bankruptcy. And then a week after that started laying off people, and then turned around and blamed the president, that the President Obama had ruined the coal industry, and that's why your jobs are going away. Not that we were stingy and we needed our $1 million bonuses. It's that, come and work for us, pour your blood, sweat, and tears into this job, and when we're done with you, the hell with you. So these industries all have a lot in common, whether they're digging a hole in the ground, drilling a hole in the ground. I don't really have to explain that too much to you, because I think Australia is very familiar with that. Also in the Powder River Basin area, we also have an excess of 4,000 abandoned coal bed methane wells now. Because what happened was they drilled these wells, gas was pretty good priced, and the big boys made their money. Production dropped a little bit because modern wells, whether it be coal bed methane, shale, or tight sands, do not have the long productive lives that conventional wells do. Most of, especially the shale and tight sands gas, and a lot of the coal bed methane, produce approximately 75% of their life's production in the first year. And then they decline very rapidly after that. So when the big boys started losing a little bit of money, they sold it off to some middle-sized people. They sold it off to the bottom feeders, and when it stopped being profitable for them, they drove away in the middle of the night. And now we have over 4,000 wells that the state of Wyoming will be responsible for plugging and reclaiming and trying to make right on. And the worst thing about it is they helped create the problem, because there were no rules to deal with it in the first place. So this is what it looks like on the ground in the Powder River Basin resource, or Powder River Basin area of Wyoming and Montana. This used to be, well, it still is called the Thunder Basin National Grasslands. It just looks like a mess to me anymore. They claim, and I've been trying to verify this because I heard this said by a person who usually is pretty certain of what they say, that they took enough water out of these wells to cover the entire state of Wyoming in a meter of water. This is water that was forever wasted in a part of our nation where we're probably as dry as a lot of your country is. And it had consequences for the land too. This is the same piece of ground. On the left is Sioux Draw before they dumped coal bed methane water down it, and on the right is after they dumped coal bed methane water down it. It leached all the salt out of the soil, it killed all the native grass. This happened over thousands and thousands of miles of ephemeral draws and seasonal streams throughout the Powder River Basin of Wyoming. This is soil that's going to take decades, maybe centuries to repair itself, if it ever will. Erosion happens, noxious weeds set in. It was a lose-lose situation for the state of Wyoming, and especially the people who try to make their living here. This is a map that says gas production in conventional fields, but I overlaid it with the shale wells and the tight sands wells, and they're pretty much all in the same areas. So, I mean, look at Texas. If you can find Texas, it's a giant red blob. If you think this will only happen in rural areas, you need to think again, because Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas has several million people, and they have wells in the church parking lots. They have wells in playgrounds. They have wells around the airport. They have next to hospitals, yes. You'll find out what it's all about, whether you're in a city or the country, if they decide to do this around you. The point that I want to get across, and I'm going to say this a lot tonight, is if you were concerned about this, now is the time. Now is the time. If you start seeing red spots, if you start seeing these measles, it's too late. Once they're there, you'll never go back. And this has its own special effect on the landscape. You know, this is the Upper Green River Basin of Wyoming. There's less than 1 person per square mile population density here. We used to ride here when I was a kid. We helped people gather their cattle. You could ride all day and never cross a road. You know, and I was looking for photographs to do this because the damnedest thing about this is that if you want to see this firsthand, go to Chinchilla. Go see what your countrymen are dealing with there. Because a lot of the things I'm going to tell you that happen to us and continue to happen to us are happening to people in your very own country. And it's only just begun. So I want to draw us back in and tell you more about our area, where Johnny was raised, where my wife was raised, and where really we hope to spend the rest of our lives. Now, it's in doubt. This is just north of us. You know, it's high desert. We're about 5,500 feet in elevation above sea level. It's a land of extremes. We get 110 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer, and we get 45 below zero Fahrenheit in the winter. The wind blows a lot. The sun shines all the time. Gee, I wonder if we could do anything with that, you know. Seems to me a hell of a lot of work to drill a mile in the ground and suck up petrified sunlight when we've got the damn stuff raining down on us all the time. And if you spill it, what's that, a sunburn? You know, common sense has to start to rule the day here, and we need to start taking these people that seem to think that the only way to run us is to run us in the ground. You know, and we still have a lot of wildlife. Most of the pictures you're going to see that I took it's our home. I take them standing on the front porch or on the step of the tractor or somewhere around our home. This is a mule deer. And it's not uncommon in the wintertime when we're feeding cows and there's a lot of stuff to eat that there's also about 50 of these critters out there with the cows eating. We have wolves, we have pronghorn antelope, we have the greater sage grouse, we have several dozen kinds of raptors, grizzly bears, elk. It's really, we still have a large population of wild horses even. This is a place that is really, really special. This is my special place, and that's why I want to share it with you, because you need to realize how special the places you are attached to and how special you need to keep them. Once they change, this is the type of change that, this is not like washing dirt off your hands. This is permanent, irreversible change when this comes to you. We have a long, long history of Indigenous people in North America. And I'm going to say this every time I get the chance. We would be so lucky if this is what our culture left behind. When we walk, this is just down from our house on the ridge. When we walk, this is what we see. The Crow, the Shoshone, the Arapaho, the Utes, all the tribes of that area didn't leave behind destruction and disasters and toxins. They lived there for thousands of years, living in harmony with nature. And I know that things change, but this is one thing that we need to learn. We need to learn that the people that came before us that lived there for so long had it figured out. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? Why are we trying to force our hand? We don't teach our children to succeed by subjugating their fellow man. We don't teach our children to beat their way to success. We try to instill in them that, through kindness and hard work and working together, that they can be something. Then why the hell is it when we get to be adults that we seem to forget that? That if you put some money in our eyes, that then we're willing to throw all that away. And, we had to fight to save these even. They're 75 feet in front of this is a production tank and a well. Absolutely no respect for anything that has come before. And no sense of learning that there may be a better way of doing things. The figure on the right, we had an archaeologist come out and look at it, and he told us that it's a family tree. If you split this person down the middle, there's different numbers of fingers on one side, and it tells how many horses they had, how many trips they've made over the mountains. And we spent an hour listening to him. It was fascinating. And you get to stand in this beautiful piece of art, this family tree, this piece of their history is right in front of you, and you can stand right where the person who created that stood. It's a connection that gives me goosebumps just even talking about it. I'm half a world away, and I'm drawn to this because I feel like the person that stood there knew what they had and appreciated it. So we thought that we could do our best. I had been welding in the gas fields. My father-in-law came and said that, we're getting older. We're tired of dealing with people that are leasing the ground. Nobody kind of treats it the way we want it treated. If you and Kathy, my wife, want to come and take the farm over, you can do it. We'll turn it over to you. Otherwise, we're going to sell it. And Kathy grew up there. This is where her heart is. And so we thought we could move back. We could build a home. We could get the farm going again. And I could make a little extra money still welding in the gas field, because you don't always make a lot farming. It's a good life. We get to spend all the time with our kids, and we get to see life the way it really is. So we started out. We're building the house. Just down the ridge, about 500 feet, the gas companies are starting to build their house. But they assured us, don't worry. We want to be a part of the community. We care about this land. We'll do it right. Well, you know what? We thought they would. We thought we could work with them because I was making some money out there. I thought they can't be that bad. You know, they've done a few things around here. We had about 20 wells up until the late 80s, early 90s. We thought we can make this work. We gave them our word. You know, we thought they gave us their word, but it doesn't work that way. So we continued to do what we do. We grow alfalfa, grass hay for beef cattle. Sometimes we grow a little corn. There's a lot of beer barley grown in the area. There's a lot of sugar beets. I mean, this is, we only have a short, barely 3-month growing season, but we grow some of the most fantastic crops you've ever seen. We have the largest irrigation project in the state of Wyoming of reservoirs and ditches and canals that deliver fresh, pure snowmelt runoff that we irrigate our crops with. It's a special place. The cottonwood trees remind me so much of the gum trees here, and vice versa. I mean, the time we were here before on the Liverpool Plains, I really felt at home. There's a lot of similarities. You know, so here's the water that we use, and I wanted to put this in there just because I think it's a good picture. It's our Queensland healer named Curly that I think is probably smarter than everybody on the place, and he herds everything, including shadows, and you know, we have 4 dogs, and we have kids and grandkids that just love this place. They run through the irrigation water, and they want to come and help, and that's what we want too. And when it's this connection, it's a connection, and it's building something that's larger than yourself, and feeling like you're responsible for that you can take care of it. We still do a lot of handwork. We put up big bales to feed the cows with that we bring in, but we still have people that want the small bales, and we do a lot of handwork yet. And my wife, Catherine, drives the truck. This picture's a little older because Johnny's a foot taller now, and his brother Jim sitting up there on the gooseneck of the trailer. But there's something that happens when you do something like this together, whether you're family or friends. It builds bonds that I don't think you get any other way, you know. And we try to share this with people that don't have the fortune that we have to live in this place. We try to have people come out and visit our place, but it's really not so easy anymore because there's different ideas on proper use for land. So this is the same house that we've been working on ourselves, and we've done everything other than pour the concrete, and my boys have learned that they don't want to be roofers, they don't want to be sheetrockers. They've learned firsthand what trades they want to learn and don't learn. And out in front here is a cornfield and some millet, and there's actually almost 400 head of cattle in this picture. You can see some up kind of by the shop there where they're around the water tank, but the rest of them are out in the corn. The corn was about 7 feet tall. So, but we've got this other crap sticking out of the ground too. And that is something that you can't live with. That's when they were drilling the wells around us. And in Wyoming, you have to be a minimum of 350 feet from a water well or a domestic dwelling. Where that derrick is standing is 360 feet from our water well. And if you look back up behind the house on the ridge, there's a crane arm sticking up. That's the next well they're going to drill, and I think it was 370 feet. So they push it every time. That's just a little bit closer picture. And if you get to experience this, you'll never forget it because that is a small drill rig. And when they drill, it's 24 hours a day. It never stops. That thing's lit from top to bottom. There'll be 40, 50, 60 men that you don't know. They'll go wherever they want to go. It doesn't make a damn what anybody tells them to do. Thank God we had a couple of good dogs because we used them. They'll also tell you that this is going to be a boom for jobs, that your young men and women are going to have jobs and they're going to make good pay. What they don't tell you is about 75% of the jobs, the people are going to come with the equipment. Your young men and women, unless they've done this somewhere else, are going to get stuck with the crap jobs. They're going to get stuck cleaning out frack tanks. They're going to get stuck cleaning out drill pits. We have young men die quite frequently in the oil and gas fields from Wyoming being overcome from the fumes that come out of these tanks. But what they'll tell you and what the company will say is that, well, they probably had a methamphetamine problem, or they were drunk, or they were... So you are damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You go to work for these people, which is a big risk. And we have family, close family that's worked for them. If you speak out, they'll blacklist them. They'll never work out there again. They'll make sure of it. They used to come to our high schools and recruit like the Army and the Navy. They had recruiters that would come, and young men would leave high school and go straight to this stuff, never knowing anything else. It's not a life. They make a lot of money, and that's about it. They'll pick up bad habits. They're going to be exposed to every damn toxic chemical known to man. And the only person that's going to be blamed for something that goes wrong at the end of the day is them. So we continued to fight and to work and to keep building this place. So I told you we had extremes. This is wintertime feeding cows. It's still just as beautiful, in my opinion. But you have to realize that once this happens, once this disease starts in, it's not easy to eradicate, and it keeps going. So I learned firsthand what hydraulic fracturing was real quick. This picture was taken from the front porch of our house. And I still don't know what exactly that is coming out of that rig, because they don't have to tell me. We've had several investigations, including by our own federal government, and they still don't have to tell us because they paid off a few lawmakers. They got this idiot elected president and his henchman vice president who passed the Energy Policy Act of 2005 that excluded this process from every one of our major environmental laws. If you were a nurse or a doctor, be prepared for this, because you'll have workers come in that have been doused in chemicals. And the only way that they will tell you what those chemicals are is if you sign a non-disclosure agreement first. If you swear under penalty of law to never tell what it was, they will tell you what that chemical is so you can treat the patient. You still can't even tell the patient what they were exposed to. We had a nurse in Durango, Colorado that nearly died just from removing a man's pants who had been soaked in chemicals. And the way they've got the rules rigged in the States, it's all legal that way. And this is the same exact bunch of criminals that are going to come here and tell you that we're going to do it right. But, you can look at this. This is a ways away from the house and think, well, maybe we can even live with this. There came a point when we knew that we couldn't live with it anymore. This is the same house, the one that we're still trying to build. My son Jim and I were on here roofing. He was figuring out another trade that he didn't want to do. And this was 14 times over the period of 5 days. This stuff would come out, go up in the air, and just crash back down. I was furious. I ran up on the hill in the truck, and I wanted to know what was happening. And all the boss men up there was, oh, don't worry, it's safe. Look at our own employees. Our guys are walking around, and it must be safe. It dripped off the roof. You could taste it in your mouth. It was on your skin. Still don't know what it is. And the sad thing is a lot of the guys working with us, they don't know what it is either. Somebody cooked this crap up, and they send it out to them, and they tell them, put it down the hole at this pressure. Now, some of this comes up, but a good portion of it stays under the ground. And it migrates through the ground and through the cracks that they'll tell you they know exactly where the crack goes. But I'll ask you, do you think somebody can drill a hole a mile deep and then split the earth down there and tell you where that crack's going to go? Now, before this ever happens, they have to make sure that they have a good well bore. By their own admission, by the own industry's admission, there's an immediate 6 to 8% failure rate of the well bores. So if you drill 100 well bores, 6 to 8 of those immediately are not good. They lack integrity. That may mean that the cement liner between the casing and the dirt is no good, that the steel's not deep enough. But what that does is it opens up a giant conduit that allows the layers to communicate with each other. And if that's not bad enough, then they start injecting the chemicals in, and they'll tell you, oh, it's only a small percentage. It's maybe 2 or 3% of what, 10 million gallons? What's 2% of 10 million? It's a hell of a lot. Then you've got flowback. Sounds innocuous, right? Well, it's all the liquid that comes back up out of the hole. It's water, they'll tell you, flowback water. Well, it's about the furthest thing from water that you can get. And there's millions of gallons of that then needs to be disposed of. For instance, there's a state called Oklahoma in the United States that up until a few years ago had, I don't know, a dozen recorded earthquakes in its history, and has had over 4,000 earthquakes in the past couple of years. Sometimes 30 or 40 a day. People's chimneys are falling over. The bricks and windows are popping out of their homes. Canada's seeing it now. And now these brilliant bastards want to go to California and start doing this, where we have the San Andreas Fault. And if I'm not mistaken, you've got some fairly healthy faults in this country. This is, who would have thought that humans could create earthquakes? We're doing it. So when they say we can do it right, I want you to keep this in the back of your mind and remember what I asked you at the first. Think about the special places. Think why you live here. See how these two things are racing away from each other as rapidly as they can? You know, and there's consequences for this. These are my neighbors, Jeff and Rhonda Locker. I like this picture because I'll bet almost everybody in this room probably knows a couple that kind of looks like this. They may not be in the same field or wearing a Carhartt jacket, but I'll bet you know a couple that looks like this, right? They live on a former dairy farm. Dairies require lots of good water. They've had to leave that farm. They've had to move away because Rhonda has nearly died from the impacts that she suffered. But when the water was impacted, the companies came in and they said, we will put in an RO system, a reverse osmosis system, and we will treat the water for your whole house. And they did. These are the pre-filters. The filter on that side is a new filter. The filter on this side is 3 days old. What you will find out is that reverse osmosis systems are for removing salt. They're for removing total dissolved solids. They're not for removing diesel fuel or gasoline or glycol. As a matter of fact, when they tested this water, the water in the well was contaminated, but the water that was supposed to be clean actually had more constituents in it because it concentrated it. Those things went through the membrane into the supposedly clean water, and it nearly killed Rhonda. Every time their grandchildren would visit, the youngest granddaughter would go into kidney failure. How did they fix that? They don't go to grandma's house anymore. This is the neighbor just across from him. This is his drinking water. This is the water that came out of his tap. It's in a trough outside now because you can't put it in the house anymore. This is the place where all the farm workers in the morning used to go and get their water canteens filled before they went and worked in the fields. And then when this went bad, the company's like, well, prove to us your water's been good. What do you mean prove to us it's been good? I've lived here for 40 years. Lewis is a veteran. He got a Veterans Administration loan. You have to prove when you get the loan that the water's good, that the property's good, that all these things are adequate. He still has not been able to prove that his water was good. He's owned this place free and clear for years, and he went to use it as collateral to borrow some money to buy his daughter a place, and they wouldn't even loan him money on a property that he owes nothing on. These are my health impacts. If you had seen me 3 or 4 years ago, you wouldn't probably recognize me. All my hair fell out. This is about halfway through. I lost my eyebrows, my eyelashes, all my facial hair. And if that wasn't dandy enough, then I had to deal with this. It's been a long road. My son has suffered neurological problems. He used to have seizures, and out of the blue, Johnny starts having seizures. And you go into crisis mode. You don't know what the hell's going on. But we started looking, and we started figuring out when they were releasing large amounts of raw gas and chemicals into the air, and they coincided with Johnny's seizures. My mother-in-law and my wife can't smell, they can't taste. They're suffering something called neuropathy, where you lose the feeling in your extremities. It's not just them, it's most of the women in the area. And surprisingly, this isn't just me, this is a lot of the men in our area. And it's a small area. This is what, this may be, you think this is an exaggeration. I don't take pictures of myself. I mean, that's one damn thing I don't want to point a camera at, but it's, we have a modern tractor with the modern cab filtration and all the stuff. It should keep it out. I have to wear a mask with the same filters that you use to paint cars with to work in the field. And so I thought that needs to be expressed. And so if you look behind me, I'm standing in the hayfield, but right behind me, there's a separator and a production tank. And there's this kind of idea you can drive by and you can smell this really sweet, acrid smell, but you can't see anything. But there is a way to see this. It's called a FLIR camera. And I got certified. I wanted to see what this was look like. So I found the people that had the camera and I got certified to run the camera. Get on YouTube and just Google FLIR footage, gas leaks. It looks like black smoke boiling out. It's the damnedest thing you'll ever see. All the sites on our place. So when you start hearing this fallacy that we need to replace coal with gas because gas burns cleaner, it takes an approximately 2% leakage rate, and gas is dirtier than coal. Because methane, over a 20-year time frame, is 86 times more potent at retaining heat as a greenhouse gas. So this whole idea that this is a bridge to the future, it's a gangplank. This is the slide that I really like this, because if we were at an industry conference, everybody would get a little twinge in their heart and they would think what a good job they're doing, because they've bullshitted themselves into thinking that this is something that you need to see. Because within a 4-mile radius of our home, there's 200 of these. Now to them, this is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but to everyone in this room, anyone who has to live with this stuff, anyone who wants to live with this stuff, it's a pot of poison at the end of the rainbow. So you have a choice, and you have time, and you have the ability to make that choice, because this isn't in your front yard or in your church parking lot yet. And you need to ask yourself, can you live with the things I've just shown you? And you may ask yourself too, maybe he's full of it. I can guarantee you, since this has happened to me, this has consumed me. This is something I do. I will continue to do this, because everywhere I go that this is occurring, I see the same things. The accent might be different. The trees might be a little different. Jeff and Rhonda might be a little different. I see the same worried looks. I hear the same stories about children being harmed. I see the same dirty water. And I see the same thing as, why didn't we stop this when we had the chance? So I've got something after all that I really am proud of, because I feel like the United States has really done the world a disservice by leading in this technology, right? As if we don't do other good shit around the world, excuse my language. But we were driving down from Maryborough today, and Dan happened to find something. And I want to play this short clip for you, because for the first time in I don't know how long, I feel excited, I feel anxious, and I know that, well, let me play this and see what you think.
I don't have to explain to anyone here that the growing body of evidence tells us that fracking is a danger to our water supply, our most precious resource. It is a danger to the air we breathe and can cause lung cancer. It has resulted in more earthquakes. It is highly explosive, and it is contributing to climate change. And on this issue of fracking, Secretary Clinton and I have some very strong differences of opinion. In my view, if we are serious about safe and clean drinking water, if we are serious about clean air, if we are serious about protecting the health of our children and our families, if we are serious about combating climate change, we need to put an end to fracking, not only in New York and Vermont, but all over this country. The toxic chemicals used in fracking are known to cause cancer and birth defects. Both the EPA and the National Academy of Sciences have shown clear evidence that hydraulic fracturing can lead to a contaminated water supply. We cannot, we must not allow our children to be poisoned by toxic drinking water just so that a handful of fossil fuel companies can make even more profits. There is simply no good way to contain the cocktail of toxic chemicals pumped into the ground. The threat it poses to our families is too great. Moreover, the threat of methane emissions from fracking presents a profound danger to our climate. Methane traps more than 84 times the heat of carbon dioxide. While natural gas may burn cleaner than coal, the enormous explosion of fracking and the resulting release of methane presents a significant danger to our planet. Secretary Clinton's role in fracking when she was Secretary of State is not a good record.
So this is the first time I've heard this ever come out of a politician's mouth in the United States, let alone somebody running for president. This is because he has the support of the people behind him, the people who have been living with this, and the people who know that this cannot happen. Please, I can't tell you how impressed I am with the country of Australia and how willing people are to stand up with each other and how willing people are to defend one another. I really appreciate your time. I encourage you to please listen as intently to the other speakers as you have to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. And thank you. Please continue to set the fine example for the world that you have been. Thank you.